The Secret of Real Peace in Life, Volume 2. In Volume 1, we realized that peace isn't something you find out there. It's not in the job, the money, or the perfect relationship. But even once we know that, we hit a wall. We sit down to be still, and suddenly, the loudest noise in the world starts. It's the noise of our own thoughts, our regrets, and our fears. If the world is quiet, why is it so loud inside our heads? Welcome back to our 30-episode premium series, The Secret of Real Peace in Life. You've mastered the why. Now, it's time to master the how. This is Volume 2, Silencing the Internal Storm. Over the next 7 episodes, we are going to identify and dismantle the specific barriers standing between you and a quiet soul. Episode 5, we identify the inner noise, the mental clutter that drowns out your intuition. Episode 6, we explore the power of silence as a tool, not just a lack of sound. Episode 7, I reveal the first true pillar of peace, the art of acceptance. Episode 8, we tackle the silent thief, how to stop overthinking before it paralyzes you. Episode 9, we learn the hardest skill of all, letting go of the things you cannot control. Episode 10, we dive into the healing power of forgiveness as a path to personal freedom. Episode 11, and finally, we break the habit of comparison, the thief that steals your peace by looking at others. Most people live their entire lives at the mercy of their thoughts. In this volume, you are going to learn how to be the master of them. If you're ready to turn down the volume of the world and find the clarity you've been searching for, let's begin. Episode 5, The Inner Noise Destroying Your Peace. The loudest chaos in life is often invisible. It happens inside the mind. Emma described her mind as never turning off. Even during quiet moments, thoughts raced, replaying conversations, imagining worst-case scenarios, questioning every decision. Psychology calls this rumination. Faith calls it unrest. Her exhaustion didn't come from activity. It came from mental noise. Not every thought deserves attention. Thoughts are events, not commands. Peace begins when you stop obeying every voice in your mind. Emma noticed her body was always tense, shoulders tight, breath shallow. Psychology explains that the body cannot distinguish between imagined threats and real ones. Faith teaches stillness as medicine. When Emma learned to pause, breathe, and observe her thoughts without chasing them, her body softened. Peace returned gradually. Instead of trying to silence her mind, she learned to watch it. Thoughts came, thoughts went, and in that space, calm appeared. Peace is not the absence of thought. It is the absence of fear-driven thinking. Stillness is not weakness. It is mastery. Episode 6, Why Silence is a Powerful Key to Peace. We live in a world that rarely stops talking. Noise fills every gap. When James first tried sitting in silence, he hated it. Unresolved thoughts surfaced. Memories appeared. Psychology explains that silence removes distraction. Faith explains that silence reveals truth. Silence is not empty. It is full of awareness. As James practiced short moments of silence, something shifted. His breathing slowed. His reaction softened. Silence allowed his nervous system to rest. Eventually, silence became familiar, and peace followed. You don't need hours of silence. You need consistency. Peace often enters quietly. Episode 7, The First Secret to Real Peace, Acceptance. Most inner suffering does not come from what happens to us. It comes from arguing with what has already happened. We say things like, this shouldn't have happened. They should be different. I should be further along by now. This inner resistance quietly steals peace. Anna lost a job she loved. At first, she told herself it was unfair. She replayed conversations in her head, imagining how things should have gone. Weeks passed, but the tension remained. Her body stayed tight. Her mind stayed restless. Psychology explains this clearly. When we resist reality, the nervous system stays in fight or flight mode. The body reacts as if the threat is ongoing, even when the event is over. Faith describes this as unrest of the soul. Anna wasn't suffering because she lost her job. She was suffering because she refused to accept that it had happened. Acceptance does not mean approval. It does not mean liking what happened. It means acknowledging what is, without emotional warfare. Peace cannot grow in denial. It grows in truth. One afternoon, exhausted, Anna whispered something simple. This is where I am right now. Nothing magical happened, but something softened. Her breath slowed. Her shoulders dropped. Psychology calls this nervous system regulation. Faith calls it surrender. Acceptance does not stop progress. It stops unnecessary suffering. As Anna accepted her situation, clarity returned. New ideas emerged. Opportunities slowly opened. The circumstances didn't change overnight, but her relationship with them did. And peace followed. Acceptance is the doorway. Peace walks through it quietly. Episode 8, Overthinking, the silent thief of peace. Overthinking rarely feels dangerous. It feels responsible, like preparation, but most of the time, it is fear disguised as thought. David described his mind as always running simulations, before meetings, before conversations, before sleep. He imagined what could go wrong again and again. Psychology shows that overthinking activates the same stress response as real danger. The body reacts even when nothing is happening. This is why overthinking is exhausting. Faith teaches presence. Peace lives in now, not in imagined futures. Overthinking borrows problems from tomorrow and forces you to carry them today. Not every thought deserves your attention. Thoughts are events, not commands. David began noticing physical symptoms: tight chest, shallow breathing, constant fatigue. When he learned to pause and ask, "Is this thought useful right now?" something shifted. He didn't fight the thought. He let it pass. Psychology calls this cognitive diffusion. Faith calls it trust. As David practiced letting thoughts come and go, calm returned. His sleep improved. His reactions softened. Peace didn't come from solving everything. It came from trusting more. Peace is not the absence of thought. It is the absence of fear-driven thinking. Episode 9. Letting go of what you can't control. Much of human stress comes from trying to control what was never ours to manage. Other people's choices, outcomes, timing. Mark believed control kept him safe. He planned everything, prepared for every outcome. But when life didn't follow his plan, anxiety took over. Psychology explains that control creates the illusion of safety. Faith teaches that trust creates real peace. Control tightens the mind. Trust loosens it. Peace grows when effort meets surrender. When Mark finally admitted, "I can't carry all of this," his body relaxed. Letting go was not quitting. It was releasing what was too heavy. As Mark focused only on what he could influence, peace returned. Not because life became predictable, but because his heart became lighter. Letting go is not weakness. It is wisdom. Peace lives where trust begins. Episode 10. Peace and the Power of Forgiveness. Forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood ideas in human life. Many people believe forgiveness means excusing what happened. Others think it means pretending the pain didn't exist. But forgiveness is neither of those things. Forgiveness is about freedom. Grace had been hurt deeply by someone she trusted. Years had passed, but the memory still triggered anger. She avoided places, avoided conversations, avoided reminders. Psychology explains this clearly. Unforgiveness keeps the nervous system locked in survival mode. The body reacts as if the threat is still present. Grace wasn't being harmed anymore, but her body didn't know that. Faith describes this as carrying a burden that was never meant to last forever. Forgiveness is not saying what happened was okay. It is saying, "I will not let this control my peace anymore." Peace cannot coexist with resentment for long. One night, exhausted, Grace realized something painful. The person who hurt her was living freely, but she was still imprisoned by the memory. Forgiveness began not as a feeling, but as a decision. Psychology calls this cognitive release. Faith calls it mercy. She didn't feel instant relief, but the weight began to lift. Over time, Grace noticed her body relaxing. Her thoughts softened. Her reactions changed. Forgiveness didn't erase the past, but it gave her the present back. You forgive not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Episode 11. Why comparing yourself ruins your peace. Comparison quietly erodes peace. Not loudly, not suddenly, but consistently. Lena often scrolled through her phone at night. Seeing others succeed made her question her own progress. She felt behind, even though nothing in her life had actually gone wrong. Psychology shows comparison activates insecurity and dissatisfaction. Faith reminds us that every life unfolds differently. Comparison pulls you out of your own journey and places you inside someone else's highlight reel. Peace cannot survive there. Lena later learned that someone she envied was privately struggling. What looked perfect had hidden weight. Comparison never shows the full story. When Lena focused back on her own growth, peace returned. Her journey made sense again. Your life is not late. It is unfolding. Peace lies where comparison ends. We've just completed a profound chapter of this journey. In Volume 2, we stopped looking at the world around us and started looking at the world within us. We've identified the noise, embraced the silence, and finally named the thieves overthinking and comparison that have been stealing your joy for years. We've done the heavy lifting of forgiveness and the brave work of letting go. You might feel a little lighter today. That's because peace isn't something you add to your life. It's what's left over when you let go of everything that isn't you. By practicing acceptance and releasing control, you've cleared the space for something permanent to grow. But our journey doesn't end here. Now that we've quieted the internal storm, we are ready to move into Volume 3, where we will explore how to stay peaceful even when the world is at its most demanding. We've built the foundation. Now, it's time to live it. Thank you for trusting me with your time and your heart. Remember, a quiet mind is your greatest superpower. If this brought you peace, subscribe and share this with someone who needs it.